Alright guys, how we doing and welcome back to the channel. Now, some big news for Legends EA today and for Pokemon in general as Lucario gets a new Mega form, the first ever Z Mega. We have Charizard and Mewtwo's Megas split into their X and Y forms, but we've never had a Z form Mega. Of course, this is Legends ZA and is very much related to Zygarde. We've had Z moves, but that seems to be something else entirely. But anyway, we're going to talk about it, so leave a like, subscribe if you enjoy the video. Let's unpack this. All right, guys, so let's dive into the trailer that dropped today. 1 minute 40, we see the Mega Stone highlighted again, and this is a brand new Mega Lucario. We'll talk about why they've picked Lucario and all that kind of stuff in a bit, but we'll look at this trailer firstly. So we've got this entire scenario being depicted, which is in the online sort of like free-for-all 4v4 ranked matches, right? You've got the Mega Lucario who's kicking some butt, and then you've got a brand new Lucario reveal. There's a bit of a pause, and then look at this guy. It's so cool. I mean, Lucario's a great Pokemon anyway, right? Because it's based on like Anubis, the Egyptian god. It's got the kind of like dog or kind of like canine head. It's very humanoid and agile, and it's slender, and it's just a great design. I think even if you desperately don't want to be a normie, you can't help but love Lucario. Its design is very like nighttime coded. You know, you can imagine this is an evolution that happens if you kind of like evolve. I know it's not an evolution, but if it was like a natural evolution, it would be like the night version. Imagine like Midnight Lycanroc or like Umbreon and Espeon. It's that kind of vibe to me. It's got slightly darker colorations. You'll see here as well, it's got like much smoother, where when normal Mega Lucario has like spikes, this guy has much smoother, like rounded metal plates. And it begs the question about its like base stats and why we would need another Mega Lucario in terms of like the metagame and the stat pool and stuff like that. But in terms of design and just like cool wow factor, this is great. I love it. It looks I would say it looks a little bit more feminine. It looks like an absolute badass, but it does look a little bit more feminine. And there is this whole theory that I've been seeing recently about like X and Y shapes to all of the Megas. Like every single Mega evolution that exists adopts a X or Y shape in terms of like its physical appearance. And I guess that this kind of looks like a Z because it's got the kind of tail coming out of one side of it. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like a Z. And that's been pointed out by some people, and I think it's valid. I think it's potentially something they're subtly going for. Whether it means anything, I don't know. Let's continue playing the trailer. It goes on one leg. I think regular Mega Lucario does that stance or a similar stance as well, but you see this is really interesting because both Mega Lucario forms fire off a Aura Sphere at each other, but look, the new Mega Lucario, its Aura Sphere is fired off much quicker, which I interpreted as the new Mega Lucario has a better speed stat. Now, Mega Lucario is already an extremely fast Pokemon. It's a glass cannon. It doesn't have particularly good defenses, but it hits like a brick. So if you can just send it out and just get some moves off, you do so much damage. Not only does it take on the other Mega Lucario, but you saw there it also takes on some Mega Raichus, which again, very excited to use those. So let's have a look at the design in a little bit more detail here. You can see it's official artwork here, and as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that jumps out to me is that it's much smoother, right? Mega Lucario has spikes. It's got spikes on its fists, spikes on its feet, so it's almost like more geared to physical combat. It's more of a physical threat. Whereas this one, very smooth, that would hurt if you got kicked in the head by a big metal disc, but it wouldn't hurt as much as getting impaled by a spike. You know what I'm saying? So I think this potentially indicates that this is a fast special attacker. Although Lucario and Mega Lucario, as in the previous Mega Lucario, both of their selling points are that they are kind of like mixed attackers. You can run a special set, you can run a physical set, close combat, Aura Sphere. They work together, right? You can just gear it however you want. However, what I'm thinking is potentially for Mega Lucario Z. So I've not seen any stat pulls yet for Mega Lucario Z. But this is regular Mega Lucario, right? And it's got very similar special attack and attack. So it's 145 attack, 140 special attack. They're both extremely good, and it's pretty fast with 112 speed. Now, I can imagine a world where they redistribute that And the old Mega Lucario becomes a physical attacker, where it's obviously got the more physical design. The spikes that I mentioned, it's quite stacked, you know, it's got big sort of like leg muscles and stuff like that, whereas the new Mega Lucario is a little bit more slender, right? And so I can imagine this new one having like 160 special attack with maybe 110 or 120 attack. And then they redistribute the old Mega Lucario stats to emphasize its physical attack more. However, they could do a third Mega Lucario in the future, so you've got an X, a Y, and a Z. Who knows what they're going to do? But this is awesome. It's great to have another version. I love the colors. I think the colors work so well together. You've got the silver and the dark tones. You've got the slightly more long fur on the midriff that kind of comes down on one side, and then you've got those smooth metallic plates and the kind of head protrusions, which I think looks really, really good. Give me a rating out of 10 in the comments. And next up, we are going to talk about this new Mewtwo design. Mewtwo event. And this is very interesting because it immediately shows us that Mewtwo is going to be inside the Lysander Labs. Lysander Labs is obviously a place where a lot of experimentation was done on legendary Pokemon in the past. And obviously there's been a lot of, it's abandoned at the moment, right? But there's been a lot of kind of dark goings on here. AZ was held captive, and you know, there's some blueprints that we get to see, of course, of the Eternal Flower, the weapon, and Mega Floette. There's all kinds of unethical experimentation that was done down here. So it kind of makes sense that Mewtwo, whose whole thing, its whole backstory is that it was artificially created using the DNA of Mew, right? It would be interested in these kind of places that it would probably consider like an abomination. Like, why are humans doing this? It's a kind of continuation of the story of Mewtwo, which I find really interesting. I really hope, though, that there's more content and more story to this than what we saw with the Diancie event. We wait 10 plus years, 12 years maybe, since X and Y came out. I was personally fairly disappointed with the lack of depth to Diancie's kind of backstory in its side mission. There was some substance, but it wasn't as... It was a bit of an anticlimax when you wait 12 years for some substantial story, you know? It really could have been a bit more substantial. So, Mewtwo here is obviously such a legendary Pokemon. Literally, it's a legendary Pokemon, and it's like a iconic Pokemon as well. And I really just hope that we get some explanation as to why it's here. Can it communicate with us and explain to us what it's doing in Kalos? Can we maybe get some sort of like backstory on why it's interested in this particular part of Kalos, and obviously Lysander Labs? We can kind of surmise, and we can, you know, it makes a lot of sense why it's there thematically, but tell me some story, give me some specific stuff, you know, to learn about Mewtwo and make it feel like more of a character, you know? Now, you will be able to get both the Mewtwo Night X and Y gift, and it says there is going to just be one side quest. It says, after claiming your Mega Stones, complete the side mission, singular, and get the legendary Pokemon Mewtwo for your team. So you can probably, you definitely can kind of like swap between the two forms depending on what you prefer to use, and you know, you can chop and change. This is really, really cool. But yes, I just really, really hope that we see some depth and some substance to the story. And I will be finding out tonight. I'll be streaming the side mission tonight, guys. So yeah, come through if you want to relax, chill, and play some more ZA post-game with a particular focus on us doing this Mewtwo mission. I imagine it's going to be really, really difficult, actually, to complete. But I think we have a Master Ball spare. So I think it's probably wise that we use that, because it was an absolute pain to catch Diancie. Now, just revisiting the whole concept of Mega Lucario Z, right? The fact that it's the first, actually, Z iteration of like a Mega Evolution form. What does that mean? It does beg the obvious answer is that there's X forms like Charizard and Mewtwo X are somehow linked to Xerneas' energy. Same with Yveltal for the Y forms, and same with Zygarde for the Z forms. But it seems to me that Z specifically is a little bit more important just because Z moves exist. Now, whether they're related, I don't know. I would imagine they are, because you firstly have the Nihil Light move that we get revealed to us in the climax of the ZA story, which is obviously Nihil Light is sort of related to Necrozma, right? The light Pokemon steals light from worlds. There's some sort of relationship going on there, I think, between Necrozma and Zygarde. So the fact that you've now got Pokemon that Mega Evolve according to like the idea of Z or Zygarde is just something that I'm really fascinated to understand more about. It could be something to do with like different realities, parallel timelines, one where Zygarde prevails, one where Xerneas prevails, one where Yveltal prevails, or like its energy at least prevails, right? I don't know exactly what that looks like. I don't quite know. I can't put the pieces together quite yet, but there's something there. And that opens up the question more widely as to what is going to happen in this Mega Dimension DLC. Now, I mentioned that the side mission for Diancie was a little bit unsubstantial, and I would say the main story wasn't unsubstantial because we got a lot of AZ's plot, but the game wasn't like super story focused. It had a lot of story beats throughout it, but a lot of the attention of ZA in general was very much like, hey, here we're in Paris, go and explore like you know, the shops and the museum and the city. It was very much like geared towards a new adventure in Lumiose. But of course, there was that kind of like retrospective story continuing X and Y. Now, the reason I'm sort of saying that is because I hope the Mega Dimension explains the lore, the real reason behind why are there X, Y, and Z evolutions. Where do they come from? Where does that energy come from, and why does it change the form of Pokemon in different ways? I would like to understand more about that. Of course, I want to make theories on it as well, so I don't want it to just be spoon-fed, but I want lots of Easter eggs. The reason I mentioned the Diancie thing being like really unsubstantial is because I hope that's not the case for the explanation when it comes to like Mega Lucario Z, and if there are going to be more Z forms, maybe more X and Y forms even in the future. So I just really hope that we get a nice balance of some story, some new Mega forms, and some fun gameplay. If you can get all of those things nicely balanced, which the main story of ZA did a decent job at, I would have liked a bit more story and a bit more backstory and lore and stuff, but there is that when you go and do different side missions and talk to trainers, and you do get some little things fed through. I would like a little bit more personally, but it's still, it still remains to be seen how much the Mega Dimension DLC shows us and how much detail it goes into. And my next theory video, we're going to be exploring whether or not ZA's Mega Dimension DLC will allow us to go to other locations. We've talked about this theory before. This is going to be kind of like the last look at that and exploring some reasons maybe why and why not. So stay tuned for that video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know your score out of 10 down below for the beauty that is, this is my opinion, the beauty that is Mega Lucario Z. Do you prefer it to the old Mega Lucario? I really like it, but I just don't know if it's as good as, it's so close. I think they're both great in their own rights. Let me know which one you prefer down below and give me your scores out of 10 for this brand new Lucario form. Take care, guys. I'll see you next time. Love you, gang.